Okay, let's learn about printing images in Adobe Lightroom. So here we are in the print module in Adobe Lightroom. When we get here, we've still got our film strip at the bottom, except our left and right panels have changed according um, to printing. So over here on the left, we have a lot of templates that we can select for our images that will lay them out in different ways. So we kind of think about like school photos, right? Like we've got different sizes of the same image. Got a lot of different options in here, 8 by 10. So if we were printing for display, this would be a really good choice. If we look for a contact sheet, we can also create contact sheets. So something to notice here is that only one image is showing in this contact sheet. And that is because I only have one image selected in my film strip down here. If I can use control and I can select specific images to show, I could also do control A to select all. And now I have all the images in my film strip on this contact sheet. So I'm going to talk about contact sheets specifically real quick because we use or create and export those a lot for class. So here is our contact sheet setting. And then over on the side, we can adjust make some adjustments. So rotate for best fit is really good. Zoom to fill, not ideal because it changes the composition of the photo. We can change the margins, the grid. Usually we do 4 columns and 6 rows, so we can highlight that and type that in there. 4 columns, 6 rows. We can change the cell spacing to make those a little bit tighter. We can uncheck this keep square or check it. It doesn't really seem to make that much of a difference. Um, Show guides is totally fine. You can also take that off. That's personal preference. Something that is really important, if we scroll down on this side over here, is this photo info. So by default, it'll only show the file name. But if you click on this, there's a lot of different options here. And what we're going to do is click on edit. And then in this pop-up window, we can make some choices. So the preset is file name, and that example shows us right here what that would look like. What we're going to do is we're going to have the file name, yes, but we're also, what we can do depending on our project is add exposure data. You can see here it's got our shutter speed and our f-stop. You can also add the ISO. So if we click down here, we've got ISO speed rating. So we can insert that. And if you click in this little box here and add some spaces, it'll mirror that in your example up here. So ISO, we could also add, if you wanted to put copyright information or a caption or a title, you could do that. So or the date that the image was created, you can add that in there. So there's a lot of different custom things that you can do on here. And then when we click done, you'll see that that is mirrored underneath of your images. So for a contact sheet, we don't usually print them in here unless I specifically ask you to for a project. So what we want to do in this print job, this last module here, is we're going to select print to JPEG file. And instead of printing it to paper, it's printing it to a file. So we'll select print to file. It will open up our window here, and here we can give it a file name. So I have the opportunity to save it correctly. Day 2. RVA walk, and this is a contact sheet, so I'll add that CS to the end and click save. So now I have my contact sheet and I'm ready to turn that in. So that is creating a contact sheet in Adobe Lightroom, which happens to be in the print module. Now the other thing we can do in here is, let's say we're printing images for display. We can look at these templates. 8 by 10 is great. When you are in this space, you do have a little wiggle room to edit because it's basically cropping your image to 8 by 10, and then you can just like adjust the crop based on, whatever extra is in the image. If you have all of your images selected, it is creating an 8 by 10 for each image. If I only have one image selected, you'll notice those arrows down here go away. And so I'm only doing one page. So that's really important because if we're printing and we happen to have everything selected, it's going to print each of those files. So that's potentially a lot of paper and ink being used. So we want to be really intentional about what we're printing. Over on the side, we still have those same options, that zoom to fill or rotate for best fit. We can adjust the margins. Now keep in mind that when we change these margins or the cell height, it's going to change the size here. It's not going to be 8 by 10 anymore. So just make sure you're considering that as you're making any changes over here. And then coming down, we're going to look at a couple other things. So you could add an identity plate that's like your name, will be right there smack dab in the, well, I guess you can move it. You could put it down at the bottom if you want to put your name on your print. You can also add a watermark, depending on if you have a watermark created. If you want to create one, you can go to edit watermark. In this window, you can have just your name. You can also upload a graphic as your watermark by choosing a file. So like if you wanted to put your personal logo on there, you could totally do that. And then there's some options here of like how to make it fit on your image. So that's how you would create a watermark. You also can still do photo info. And again, here you can still go to edit just like you could in the contact sheet module, and you could like insert all these things, and that would print it at the bottom of the page. Okay, and then coming on down to print job. So we no longer want to print this to a file. We actually want to select printer, and we want to take it off of draft mode, unless you're just printing it for a quick proof to the LaserJet printer. If you're printing it to the photo printer, you would want to make sure this is at 300 PPI. Print sharpening is helpful. Media type, make sure you select it. Usually our paper in here is glossy. And then before you print, you always want to go to printer and double check your settings. So currently I only have the LaserJet printer selected, but you would want to go to properties and make sure that you have like the quality selected, make sure it's the right type of media, because if we're printing on photo paper that's glossy versus matte, or if we're printing on like cardstock, though, although those settings need to be set ahead of time in this print module before you hit OK and send it to print. When you hit OK here, it is going to send it to print. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel here. If you have everything set up correctly and you click print, it will print without asking any type of confirmation. It just sends it to the printer. So we want to make sure that we're really intentional when we're printing in or from Adobe Lightroom, because it happens really quick. And there's a lot of different options and customizations that we can make. So that is how you print in Adobe Lightroom.